Hello, and welcome to Common Voices, a podcast focused on bringing individuals of all walks of life together and advancing a message of peace and coexistence and partnership. With me today are two incredible university students, Liat Schwartz, a student at Toronto Metropolitan University, and Michael Mandel, a student at York University, both of whom have been students involved with our organization. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Well timed. You have both been so active and so involved over the last few years, not just I think through Avi, but as students on your campuses. I think you both got involved with the organization and you had already done quite a bit at that point. And I think there's so much that you both can share, especially for our listeners who are interested about what it's like to be a student on campus today. I'm sure there's a lot of negative, but I know there's also a lot of positive too, which is very beautiful. So Liat, let's start with you. Take us through a typical day for a Jewish student on campus at TMU.
So it's fun. I love being on campus and going to classes and learning, but there's always some negative aspect to it when it comes to being Jewish because students tend to not like us, and it's hard, especially when I go to class. I love learning, but the students are very against us, and it's very hard to be a student at TMU.
What do you mean by against us? And would you say this is typical of the climate at TMU in general for any Jewish student?
I think so. It's also, I've been posted on Instagram on the pro-Palestinian account, and a few
Posted
of my
how?
students, they posted our faces, and it was Zionists off our campus, and a few students in my classes actually liked that photo.
And who posted it?
SJP.
SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine at TMU.
Yes.
Posted a picture of your face on their Instagram.
Me and a few other students.
Saying Zionist off campus.
Yes.
And did you show this to anyone at TMU?
Yes. I had multiple meetings with human rights at TMU from April to end of May, and they did nothing. They were like, we can't do anything because this is political.
They posted a picture of your face saying that you shouldn't be on campus at TMU. And you, Liat, a Canadian, and who said it was political?
Human rights said it's too political and it doesn't count as antisemitism because it's anti-Zionism.
Does it count as doxing?
I don't know if they counted as doxing. They were very we can't do anything because it's political, and that was the end of the conversation.
And the fact, and you say, and I'm sorry, Michael, we got right into this, right? But Liat was prepared, clearly. But the fact that this was your face on an Instagram account, you were a student, right? Regardless of your political views, this, I would assume, made you feel threatened on campus.
Definitely.
And you recognized there were people you knew who were in your classroom who had liked the photo. And TMU said to you they couldn't even ask the students to remove the photo?
We had multiple meetings being like, can you please remove this? This is all we want. We don't want any issues. Can you just take it down? And they were like, no, we can't. Or they didn't even try to take it down. And I had multiple meetings with TMSU as well, which is the student union, and they did nothing.
And what's happened since then with SJP or with other?
So the photo is still up, and
on their account.
Yes, it's pinned on their account, and then they made a new account called TMU Divest, and they've been promoting something. I don't know exactly what it is, but that photo keeps appearing, and it's with the Jewish Israelis that I brought to campus in that photo, and they keep bringing it up.
Right.
And I don't know why.
And would you say this has been the experience of your peers at TMU as well? Friends of yours, or could they make the claim that this was an isolated incident involving you?
I think a lot of the students, I definitely don't have friends in my program, which is really sad. But yeah, I think it's definitely a lot of students on campus don't like us because of how the media portrays us. But realistically, we're just Jews in Canada. Like, that's the extent of it.
I'm sorry to hear. Obviously, this is my first time hearing, but I'm still for you to have gone through this, and to continue to go through this, and for the individuals who are supposed to be supporting you to not be. I understand not being able to force students to do certain things or to believe certain things, and that's absolutely, but if you're posting something where you're making a peer of yours on campus feel intimidated or harassed or threatened, you wouldn't think it would take so much for that to be removed.
Yeah, for sure.
Michael, would you say this is at all comparable to what the climate has been like at York University? What's your experience like at York, given that obviously it's a very different campus environment?
Okay, so this specific situation that Liat experienced, I don't think it would be acceptable. I would like to think that our administration would take it more seriously, and I'm sorry that you went through that. But I actually had a similar situation happen to me. It was a couple years back. I had a kippah with the Starbucks logo that I got at Shuk Machane Yehuda in Israel. And it's a very iconic story with... there was a girl, I was just walking in the hallway. It was after Mincha at Hillel, so I left the lounge. I was going to class, and I just happened to have the kippah on. I wasn't thinking anything of it. And this girl took a picture of it and posted on Instagram. I don't even remember the caption, or not even in TikTok, whatever. But I had meetings with the university about it, and like people were sending it to me like, oh my God, is this you? I'm like, I don't even have TikTok. I've never spoken to this person in my life. So why are you taking a picture of me? And she did something with genocide. I'm like, I was thinking to myself, first of all, this
was before October 7th?
This was before, right after October, like maybe February or January. But I'm like, first of all, there isn't even Starbucks in Israel. So how's Starbucks involved in this?
Right.
So second, like, whatever, like, I just had to stand my ground. Obviously, I'm a proud Jewish, Zionist, and Canadian student at this university. So I had to deal with the proper channels, and I'm grateful to organizations like Avi who were there to support me. But yeah, this...
And what happened, Michael?
She was given...
and also, did the photo go viral? Did it get a lot of attention?
It went viral. I know had over 1 million views.
Stop.
Whoa.
I didn't know that.
Whoa.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
Like, I'm not allowed to publicly disclose what happened, but I know that she was... she was penalized for this.
Okay. And the photo, I don't know if York would have the authority to have her remove a photo from TikTok, because TikTok has nothing to do with York,
but I know that TikTok was removed.
But it was removed.
Yeah, but that photo is still out there. Like, once you put something on the internet, it's there for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would say the administration, how was their response to this incident? Because it seems off the bat that it's quite different than what Liat had gone through.
The administration was very understanding, and they acknowledged that it affected my mental health and my community.
Sure.
Because I'm just one person. Like, you're just by doing this to me, it's not just doing this to me. You're doing this to the entire Jewish community at York. I'm just a guy. I'm just there. But this was a real message to my community at York and to communities at other universities like at U of T, TMU, and just across the country, basically saying Jewish and Zionist students aren't welcome. And I like to use those two different terms, Jewish and Zionist, like I'm both. But
I don't see a difference.
Yeah, no, but like I just want to acknowledge that there are many non-Jewish allies who are Zionists.
Absolutely.
And that's why, because like even though we have members of the Ethiopian community and the Hindu community and the Iranian community who aren't Jewish. They don't practice Judaism. They practice their own religions. But I consider these attacks not just on them, not just on us, but on them as well.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And I know you've been very active, as an ambassador of Avi, but also as someone who's really taken the mission of coalition building and allyship quite seriously and quite literally, and there's so many positive stories I know that you can share that really speak to the work that you've done, which I think is not only so important in an age where people are very easily led astray by whatever they're reading, and they're being encouraged to just walk the line, as essentially, or toe the party line, as they say. But you've been able to find students at a university campus where an anti-Israel movement is very strong, and you've found non-Jewish students who have stood with you. How were you able to do that?
Okay, so a lot of these non-Jewish students came up just from around, just like classes. Like I was studying I was taking an Indigenous politics course, and I met a friend who's he's part Guyanese, and we were just studying together, and we were talking about ourselves. Like he's very involved in his church, and he had a part-time job at Costco, like normal stuff that 21-year-olds talk about.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, so what do you do for fun? I'm like, oh, I'm president of this Israel Club, students supporting Israel on campus, and I'm also a Common Ground ambassador for this organization called Allied Voices for Israel. And you're interested in going to Israel. You're very into your Christianity. Like, would you be interested maybe going on this Allied Voices for Israel trip? And at first I was like, maybe I'm just gonna say it, but it doesn't hurt to say it. But I did, and he ended up going on the trip, and he became an ally, and along with another person who's part of the Ethiopian community. Actually, I shouldn't say person. I should say multiple people. And
You should.
They joined the fellowship as well, and they went unfortunately not to Israel this time, but to Italy because of the war. But I promised them, I'm like, some way or another, we're gonna get you to Israel.
God willing.
Yeah, God willing. And yeah, so we've worked together. We've hosted events. A couple months back, we hosted along with Students Supporting Israel and Allied Voices for Israel, we did a partnership event at an Ethiopian restaurant. It was a fun night out, along with Idalia and other students at York. We had a traditional Ethiopian dinner, and it was cool because it was an Ethiopian restaurant, and some of the employees came in, they gave us a tea demonstration, and a different how their customs work, and it was very interesting. And I know they enjoy hearing about Jewish customs, and I enjoy hearing about customs from other communities.
And in your efforts in bridge building, obviously you've been successful. Were there times where you were unsuccessful, or were there times when people responded to you, saying simply for being a part of any movement that involves Israel or that involves Judaism, that they weren't willing to speak with you?
So, I've only had, thankfully, one person actually say that to me. I was at a table a couple years ago. This was before October 7th, and I don't even remember we said something like, "Oh, this is an Israel something," and he was like, "Oh, Israel, I don't want to hear it." But we've had a few people sort of distance themselves because of the term Israel in our club, and because we're an openly pro-Jewish and pro-Israel organization on campus. And worst thing that's happened is just nothing's happened. But people, unfortunately, are shy, and they want to distance themselves.
Sure. I want to ask you, Liat, but I don't know if I'm going to like the answer. If you've had any similar experiences of allyship at TMU, or where you've been able to, at the very least, engage, your peers who aren't Jewish, to kind of recognize your experiences and hear your perspective?
I definitely think, at a certain extent, we've had good experiences. We've had a table, and non-Jewish students have come up, and we had one. I think end of year last year, we had a table that was what does peace mean to you?
Yeah.
And a lot of them were not Jewish, and they wrote on the board, and it was really nice. But it's also, they do it, but I doubt they'll be oh, I went to this table, this was a great experience. I think they would very much hide it. And I find, especially now, I want to grow SSI for allies and everything, but it's very hard on campus. Even Jewish students at TMU don't feel safe to join SSI or to be proud of being Jewish or to be pro-Israel on campus.
And why? Why do you say that Jewish students especially, don't feel safe? What's the biggest obstacle to them feeling safe?
I think for me, I don't feel safe on campus, and I haven't felt safe on campus, especially because of the experiences I've had with administration and with human rights. It's gotten to a point where I want to stop going to the school for issues. But there's a girl in Hillel who isn't Jewish but wants to convert. So she's been coming to Hillel, and it's really nice. She's actually rushing ZBO now, my sorority, which
right
is really
on.
nice.
ZBO
And
is
so like
awesome.
that's really nice that there's people there that want to support us, but they're not very active when it comes to joining SSI. It's very much like I love Judaism or I love Jewish people, but when it comes to Israel, it's like a sour subject.
Right. It's an unfortunate state of affairs. I think that we're in that way. Obviously, you know, our organization and our focus when it comes to Israel is educating and explaining to people that Israel is not a political sovereign state only for Jewish people. Right. That if you want to talk about the religion, then read the Tanakh. How many times is Israel mentioned? Right. And the same extends to Zion and Zion and Zionism. Right. You know, for me, I think even Jewish people do a disservice when we say Theodor Herzl invented Zionism. He didn't invent Zionism. It didn't come from nowhere, this word Zion. Where does this come from? What is this connection to a land, right? So if you look at the Tanakh and if you look at the importance of this land to the Jewish people, right, for thousands of years, way before we had a sovereign state in Israel, you know, I think that gives like this better understanding of what is. But the problem, I think, today is people are scared. People are afraid. We are living in an environment where cancel culture has taken place, where I would say even a new form of McCarthyism is taking place, where people can't be themselves. You know, would you say in your experiences that it's only or exclusively or primarily Jewish students that are facing this type of cancel culture or that are afraid? Or is it also the Christian students or politically conservative students or Ethiopian students, you mentioned, Michael, that are experiencing this as well? Okay. Michael, you answer first, and then Liat will go to you.
So I'll say that the Jewish, and I would also add on like the conservative-minded students are often the ones who face this first, because I'm nervous and like people are nervous to publicly be open about their identities. Like sometimes it's like if I get to know a person a bit better on campus, I'll be like, hey, I'm Jewish. Like, and like obviously I'm very proud of my Jewish identity. I'm proud to be a Jew, a Canadian, a Zionist.
Amen.
But like you have to be careful in who you surround yourself with to disclose that. And I've heard the similar experiences as well, and even sometimes I hear from different like family members or friends, like make sure like you don't never say take off the Magen David or the kippah, but like be sure like wear it in appropriate settings or cover it or wherever you have to do.
Yeah, that's fair. I've heard that as well. You know, safety is always number one. Having said that, I would encourage all of our students to always wear a billion Magen Davids whenever they can, but safety, of course, is number one. Yeah. Liat, would you have a similar response to Michael?
I think so, yeah. I think, at TMU specifically, the targeting is just Jewish students. At least from my understanding, no one wants to have a conversation at TMU from the other side. Yeah. So it's very hard for me to be like, no, they're not experiencing anything.
Yeah.
But how they go about advocating is not advocating, it's shouting. So I think there's very different experiences for them compared to us. Like, we're very, like, chill. And, like, for SSI this year, I really want it to be, like, Israel cultural thing than political. Because, yes, there's a lot going on in Israel right now, but it's not the time or place to talk about it politically. Like, I love Israel, but it's like a lot of things I don't want to do because I'm scared of the pushback I'm going to get and being kicked off campus, and like it's very hard.
Listen, it's something that we've seen that, especially say, for example, and I've said this so many times, when we have a student who says to us, we want to bring a huge Israeli flag to campus, we'll say to them, listen, I think that's great, and we understand why you want to do that. The challenge that I found in doing that is when you do that, you're going to attract the people who love you and the people who hate you, right? And what you want to do is actually avoid both those groups and speak to everybody else, right?
Yeah,
and the people in the movable middle. And when you do have campaigns surrounding around culture or music or food, and you know Avi has a bunch of those campaigns as well, I do find that you're able to first normalize Israel and normalize Judaism, but also have like those more meaningful conversations, right? So you've spoken to, I think, a few times now, the lack of what the administrations have done in terms of supporting Jewish students. What do you think TMU could do? What concrete steps could TMU implement to better support its Jewish students on campus right now?
Well, I have had good experiences, at least with a professor. I had an exam right after SJP posted me.
Yeah.
And I was petrified. I thought I was going to fail this exam, all this stuff. So I went to campus, whatever. I hid. I had my hood on, incognito.
I'm so sorry.
But I saw the professor and I was like, hey, I was posted on this Instagram account. I told her the whole story. And she was really like, ignore them. Hate is hate. Don't think about that now. Go into your exam, do it, and then after we'll talk about it. And I felt very loved in that situation. I don't know where she stands politically. I don't care. But the fact that she understood and wasn't like, no, or gave me hate was really warm. And then I finished the exam and I did well. She came up to me, actually. I didn't provoke it. She did it on her own and went up to me. I was like, hey, did you do well on this exam?
Wow.
And I never felt better to have been in her class. So I'm very happy that there are people on campus that do like us or want to support us, but it's not the majority at TMU.
And what, because that's like a professor and a specific professor, is there a way the administration could adopt that mentality, or is there something that the administration could do? Like, obviously, taking something more seriously, to me, and I think to the majority of parents and Canadians, doxing is a very serious offense when it comes to young people, especially. If you are sharing their photos, if you're sharing their addresses, if you're sharing things like that, then absolutely that's very intimidating and scary, right? So I understand the need for wearing a hoodie, truly. What could the administration have done better?
I think talking to us. Before the National Post article came out, actually, we tried talking to the school.
You should speak to that, by the way, for those who haven't actually heard about that. It's very impressive.
So I was talking to my dad about all my experiences and how I'm scared and I don't know what to do. So he has a connection with the National Post. So I wrote a op-ed and then sent it to him. He sent it to his connection. And then we talked to someone at National Post with a few other members of SSI, and I think it got a lot of good attention. But the fact that we had to put an article out for the school to pay attention to us is absurd.
Absolutely. And not even that. You're not the only one that semester that had to put out a front page National Post expose. One of our other obvious students, Lotan at York, had done something similar, pertaining to the antisemitism that he was experiencing at York. You were mentioning the prof who supported you, and it seemed like that was a very meaningful experience to you. So I'd be curious to hear, Michael, a meaningful experience that you've had, and then I'd be interested in hearing the opposite of what's been the biggest challenge that the both of you have experienced on campus, unless it's already been one of the incidents you've shared.
The biggest challenge. These are all great questions.
But first, the most meaningful.
The most meaningful.
Unless it's something you've already shared. You've shared a few meaningful things.
The most meaningful thing is honestly, I can just say, just being together, bonding Jewish community and other communities, we're there for each other. We have. I'm very lucky that through all these Israel initiatives, either through SSI or through Avi, I've developed very close friendships with some people at school, and I've
That's amazing.
Yeah, and there's these friendships can lead past university, which is pretty incredible. And yeah, just that, and something very challenging is honestly just hearing things different professors say, either Jewish professors or non-Jewish professors, about Zionism, about Israel, Judaism, that I just don't agree with, or that I just know are wrong. I'm not. I know I'm not going to agree with everyone in the world, but there's some facts that professors I know for certain have stated about the state of Israel or Zionism or Judaism that are just wrong,
or outright Nazi propaganda. I would argue
exactly. Yeah, and I also want to add that, like, especially like here after hearing this recent discussion, like with the flag and everything, that there's a very big problem on campus that people are affiliating Zionists and Jews with like politics and the government of Israel.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
Absolutely.
even though, like, you could even say that the same thing for here. Like, I've spoken to other people of different nationalities, either maybe Americans, Europeans, and they've asked me questions like, why is your government doing this, and this? Like, because they're seeing what's going on with Donald Trump and Mark Carney now. Like, I personally did not vote for Mark Carney, and I don't support his government, but that doesn't mean as a Canadian,
Right.
like it reflects,
that you're responsible for his policies.
Yeah, like,
Absolutely.
there's stuff that I do not like, that I support and I don't support in the Israeli government. I think the government has made mistakes, like any government. No government is perfect, but it's very targeting, and I just find very ridiculous that on campus, whenever I see a protest or something, like I see a big picture of Benjamin Netanyahu on the on the sign, I'm like, half the country hates him, right?
Yeah.
73% according to
wow.
the latest poll.
Even more.
But yes, I honestly really appreciate that you bring that up, because that's something that I think we all experience as Jewish Canadians, but I think especially it's pronounced on campuses today. Listen, I've even experienced it as a fundraiser within the Jewish community, right? Because there's Israel in our name, and politics has seeped into every aspect of our lives. You've mentioned the profs, and now that you've mentioned it, I think we have to dig a little deeper into that, because there are so many profs who I think have emboldened anti-Israel student activists to follow suit. I think there are so many profs who are responsible for not just the anti-Jewish hatred we're seeing on campuses, but the anti-Western hatred, the support for Marxism as a political policy, and that's fine for some reason, but Zionism isn't.
Yeah.
So much support for terrorism. I'm sure both of you have seen the McGill prof who outward said that you have to be in full support of Hamas and Hezbollah.
Yeah.
In your experiences as Jewish students, how have the professors been involved in shaping this hostile environment? Are there profs that, because you've mentioned a wonderful prof I think that you had, are there profs that you've come across, not even that have been your profs specifically, but profs at TMU or at York, but this question is to you now, Liat, who have kind of contributed to that hostile anti-Israel or anti-Jewish campus climate?
Yeah, actually, I had a prof last semester who, when I was talking about how Jewish people are diverse, like there's different ethnicities.
Well, we look pretty diverse here, the three of us.
Yeah, with Judaism, she brought up Zionism right away. And I don't remember like the context of why she brought it up, but she brought it up and I was very confused and very scared. I felt like I need to leave class right now because a lot of the students in my class are Arab and I don't know where they stand politically. So I felt very scared in that moment, and I just like shut my mouth for the rest of the class. But also that same professor has Free Palestine on her door, so I went for office hours, but I didn't know until after office hours that she wore a keffiyeh to the graduation ceremony.
See, so what does that mean for students who interpret the keffiyeh in Free Palestine to mean that they are, and we're taking this based off of their own movement, pro-war with Israel, anti-peace with Israel, anti-negotiations with Israel, anti-coexistence with Israel. What are pro-peace, not even Jewish students, pro-peace students supposed to make of that when you have professors who are outwardly writing Free Palestine or wearing keffiyehs, right? Are those students then comfortable to say in a university environment where they're paying money to be there, where you feel like they should be able to express themselves, right? How could any student express their disagreement with a professor like that when A, it might jeopardize their marks, when B, they might respond with and disagree, while C, it might lead to other students to disagree as well. It's very hard, I think, to make a statement like that. Have you seen from other students that you've spoken with that they're not always being transparent about their views or about their thoughts, or the two of you, it seems, aren't being completely transparent because of this fear of what will happen if the professors discover that you disagree. And by the way, disagreeing isn't supposed to be such a big deal, right?
No, and but do you have okay.
This is great, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So I say it obviously depends on the professor and like your relationship with the professor and how open they make students feel to either speak to them or disagree with them, because disagreeing isn't always like sometimes it's a bad thing, but like it shouldn't be a bad thing. Arguing should be, it's healthy. That's one of the points of university, to learn to become a better arguer. Like yeah, exactly. And
you would think so, yes.
Yes, and and thankfully, like, I've had professors who have allowed me to strengthen that skill. I'll give you an example of one. He's like, we're on the completely different, I'd say, like, opposite of the political spectrum, but like we've learned to, like, we keep in touch today, and like we still talk. I always ask him because I want to hear from a more left-wing perspective, like, what do you think of this and this in the news?
That's amazing.
And like, even though we disagree politically, like, I have respect for him, and like he's a good person. And it's funny though, because a couple of years ago I had a course with him, and he had like a definition, I think, of he had like a definition of Zionism or anti-Zionism, something like that. But I completely disagreed with it. So we had to have like end of year presentation. So basically my entire presentation was debunking his argument, basically saying, your argument was wrong. This is why, and this is my argument.
And how did you respond to that?
Well, like, he wasn't angry at me. I'm sure he was happy because like, even though we still probably don't disagree. We probably don't agree on this, but like, it's like that's as a teacher, he wanted to see me grow as a student, as a person.
Sure.
And that's what he saw me do. So I'm sure he was happy.
Michael, what you just said, this story gives me hope for the future and gives me hope for our academic institutions, right? Because there's nothing wrong, I think, with professors having these views, right? It's the idea that they must indoctrinate our youth to share the views, right? It's the idea that I can't tell you how many students I've had who've said to me, in their classrooms, profs have encouraged them to follow them online, right? Like, is this commonplace for you? Would you say profs have asked you to follow them on Twitter?
Yeah, I don't usually do it, but like sometimes they're like, hey, you can see me. Actually, this is after the course is over. They say like, oh, you can follow me on Twitter or whatever.
Right. Because when they do that, and when they do have these like very radical positions or Marxist positions or whatever, it does kind of create this culture where you have to agree with me, and if you don't, I think it's scary for a student, right? And sometimes they might surprise you and respond positively the way that this professor did, or sometimes they might not. And I guess because there's so much out there already, and I think students are able to read already experiences and examples of profs who haven't been receptive, to different schools of thought. It's scary, I think, for students to really be themselves. And
yeah, for sure. And there's also profs who I would say there's two categories of professors. There's professors who really aren't educated on the subject, like on Israel, Zionism, and like I'm not expecting every person on earth to be. And there's people who are maybe either very educated or very indoctrinated. Like, I've had a couple of professors, like Israel or the IDF or something has come up in their course, and the professor really didn't know how to handle it because they're not an advocate. They're not either a Jewish or Zionist, or they're not like a pro-Hamas or whatever advocate. Right. They're like, oh, I'm kind of there. And like, I remember hearing once someone said in my class, Israel wants to occupy Gaza, and like they want to colonize. And I'm like, you guys know in 2005 Israel gave up Gaza. They gave it to, it could have become like Singapore.
Yeah.
And it's a shame what happened, but it was just like, I had to stand up and say that to my classmates who didn't know much about the conflict. They just see things in the media, and yeah.
So I think that's very important. I've always shared, whenever you're speaking, even if you're speaking to someone who's hostile, like in a classroom, when there's other people listening, to always be mindful that those people are listening. And even if you're speaking to a prof or someone who you're not going to change their minds, remember that those other 100 students who are in that classroom, are going to be influenced by what you say, and you might have the ability or the opportunity to make an impact, right, on what you say and on those students. I think for Jewish students like yourselves that are facing discrimination on campus, the political situation in Israel or the war in Israel really should not matter whatsoever, right? There are over 110 armed conflicts in the world right now. Is every single Sudanese student, right, and the conflict in Sudan is bloodier, right, and producing more casualties than the war in Gaza, right? Are Sudanese students facing this hostility, right? Are
At least I
students
don't know.
from any other background? Well, maybe. And if they are, I'd want to speak to them about this, right? But they shouldn't, right? Because if you're here in Canada, then you've agreed to come to a land where the idea is that we can coexist peacefully, despite our politics, our religions, our faiths, and our backgrounds, and that should be doubly so on a university campus. So the last question I think I want to leave with the both of you. You two have both been active, and you realize, I don't know if you realize, it's not easy to be active, but also nobody was pointing a gun to your head. I can't tell you, I'm sure you both have seen how many students look down on the floor. Every time something uncomfortable happens, you look down on the floor. Every time somebody says something and you know it's wrong and you want to say something, but you can't force yourself to say it and you look down on the floor. But you two have done the opposite. Why? What has motivated you to be who you are, to be active in this way? And what role do young people, the university students play, right, in shaping Canada and shaping our society? Liat, let's start with you.
I think it's really important, at least for me, to be active on my campus because there's a lot of students are too scared to. So if I, for example, like when all these things happened last year, I was emotionally drained. I cried to my parents. I was like, please, what do I do? I can't do this anymore. It's getting too tough. They were like, if it continues like this, we're removing you. And I was like, yeah, I get it. But I was like, if I leave, what am I sending a message to other Jewish students that are coming to TMU? What am I sending to other kids at other campuses all over Canada who are facing this every day, especially also in America?
That's right.
And it's very hard. I definitely have lost friends every year. I'm losing more and more friends. But
are you making friends also?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But those friends I've made through Avi are friends that I see for life. And and it's amazing, but it's very hard that I can't have friends that are not Jewish. I feel like a lot of my friends currently are Jewish, and I love my Jewish community, but I would love to be friends with other communities.
Michael, you need to connect her to some of your friends.
Yeah, feel free to come to some of our events.
But yeah, I think definitely for students that are coming to university or are picking universities around this time, I think pick the university you want to go to. Pick your path, pick what academic field or program you want to do. Antisemitism will follow you no matter what. It's how you deal with it that makes you feel better.
That's incredible advice, Liat. I'm very proud of you. That was very well said. Bravo. Bravo. Michael?
I'd say my family and preserving the Jewish community, because we need to stand up strong for each other. And for the future, we're like Am Yisrael, we have to, it's generation to generation, a dor vador. We have to preserve our customs and fight for our community because, we've seen it. It's history's repeating itself. It's people hate us. We have to. It's gonna happen. God willing, I hope not. But in future generations, we have to be strong. Even though we may experience discrimination, we have to fight it. It's gonna be there no matter what. And I've seen it from my own grandparents and great grandparents how they had to escape their home countries, either in Europe, in Poland, in Russia, Lithuania, in Iraq. For my grandmother or her parents, and my grandmother on my mom's side, her family escaped antisemitism in Iraq and ended up in Israel. And on my dad's side, and same for my mother's father, their families escaped anti-Semitism in Europe, but many of them lost relatives in the Holocaust. Where my great-grandfather, his family came from in Poland, it was a town of 10,000 Jews. After the Holocaust, there are only 300 left. And it's just we're such a small population.
Yeah.
We have to preserve our community, but we also have to be proud of ourselves. Like, I'm very proud to be of Jewish ancestry, to be a Jew.
Amen, as you should be. You two both give me incredible hope for the future. When everybody comes to me saying, oh, it's so bad, I say, listen, I work with these incredible students, and they really do keep me optimistic, and you both do. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being incredible advocates, not just, I think, for Am Yisrael, but for common decency and common sense, and for the humanity that we need to see here in Canada. We'll see you again here soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.